Welcome to Patriots Touchback Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome along to another edition here of the Patriots Touchback Podcast. It is me, your host, Carl. I am joined as ever by my two fellow co-hosts, Luke O'Brien and Henrik. Good evening, gentlemen. How are we doing this evening?
Very good, thank you.
Excellent stuff. How did you think we done against Carolina last week? Because a lot of people have been saying that the offense is still very sluggish, not quite there yet. But the defensive side of the ball, a lot of people turn around and saying, wow, this defense is actually looking pretty damn good. Luke, where do you stand?
Yeah, I know we were talking earlier that I felt that the offense really, with Mac Jones in a quarterback, really didn't impress. The 3 and outs are concerning. I think that's the best way to put it. It's kind of a follow-on of what we've seen in camp so far, that everything just isn't quite clicking. The drive then, I think it was the fourth drive where they got the touchdown, big play to Aguilar. That's great to see, and Aguilar apparently has been the best receiver, or is kind of widely seen as been the best receiver in camp so far. So it's good to see that translates to the field, but overall, a bit concerning, admittedly, against a good defense with the Panthers.
Henrik, what about you?
Yeah, I find it very difficult to disagree with anything of what you're saying, Luke. There is great concern with the offense. 2 first drives, we went. The Patriots couldn't get we went 2 3 and outs, which is not good, obviously. But it's like, it seemed on those 2 first drives, it seemed easy to defend the Patriots. So actually pretty disappointing, just those 2 drives, 3 and outs. So there's reason to be concerned, and I'm actually a bit unhappy with that performance. Of course, that pass from Mac Jones to Nelson Aguilar was amazing. Was great, but that's it's great. It's a bit weird that that's the biggest positive I can think of about this game. There were other positives, like Nelson Aguilar, and it is true. The consensus is he is the receiver and player, the receiver who stands out the most, who has been shown most improvement and been productive at the training camp. And on Saturday, was it, at least for us, at least for me and you, I'm sure, he made a huge great play, so he deserves credit for that. I just want to quickly say something positive also, at least something I think might be positive, and that goes to the defense. They seemed faster and quicker, and that's also something the players themselves have said, that they're faster. And I'll say overall, the young linebacking core played well. We'll have to say. I mean, Josh Uche got a sack, and Fernie Jennings he had a sack and the tackle for loss, and Ronnie Perkins the same with him, sack and tackle for loss. So that was great. I think looked good. And lastly, Mac Wilson and Raekwon McMillan, they're playing. They're going to get a lot of play time. I'm not sure how good they are, but I mean, with Mac Wilson, he has speed, so that's what has been warranted, and that's something that's the defense and the linebacking core needs. So that's I'll say another positive. I'll talk about someone who I think stood out. I've already mentioned Anthony Jennings, and Luke mentioned Nelson Aguilar, but I'll add Ty Montgomery to that. He didn't play a lot, but he had 5 involvements, 5 carries and 1 catch or something like that. And he got a first down, and he also rushed for touchdowns. So that's I think he had a positive impact on the game for the Patriots.
You made some very, very good points there. I agree with you totally regarding of the linebackers. The Patriots defense, look, it's extremely well coached and savvy. It was athletically outmatched and outdated in the modern NFL for the last few years now. They made it their goal to modernize and to modernize their entire system on both offense and on defense. And when you bring back a red-shirted Cam McGrone and Raekwon McMillan, who were both injured last season, it really does help matters. So you fast forward up to now, and the New England Patriots, we swapped 2019 third rounder Chase Winovich with Matt Wilson Sr. for the Cleveland Browns. It's basically a 1-for-1 swap deal. Matt Wilson was highly touted out of Alabama. But since he's actually come onto the field, he has just given so much to the linebacker core, as well as Raekwon McMillan as well. So I think where the season continues, we're finally going to get some juice in the linebacker position, because that was what we struggled with. We had pressure off the edge, but we had no pressure when it came to the linebackers. And that's where the likes of, Christian Barmore gets put out of position, and Lawrence Guy can't work inside of the scrummage. So it really, really does help. For me, there's a couple of issues with the O-line. First of all, I think Cole Strange had a decent game. I think he looks like a starting offensive lineman. That's all you really need to see from him, really. He's going to be better with Trent Brown on the left of him, and the center David Andrews alongside the right hand side of him. So it's going to help him. What I was not happy with the O-line with, and this player keeps cropping up time and time again over the last 2 or 3 years, just how inconsistent he is, and that's James Ferentz. I don't know what to start with him. Look, swing interior offensive lineman. Look, he's always been a stable for this team. With Ted Karras leaving Cincinnati, look, they needed depth, but I haven't liked what I've seen from him. In the game against Carolina, look, he missed coverages in the zone blocking game and was pushing back numerous times. He struggled in one-on-ones in joint practices this week. Look, on top of this, he's not the only one on the O-line with this issue, but the penalties need to be toned down quite a bit, because that was what was hurting us. It's hard as is when the Patriots are trying to learn a new system, but the constant holding, offsides, personal foul calls, that have been happening along the line is a real cause for concern. He is a depth piece. It should get more work as the season goes on. But for me, he really does struggle for me. And as far as the defense, which is concerned, I thought there were teething problems with him, but I think overall they absolutely swamped Carolina's offense. What was it? We only gave up 1 touchdown, and that was actually a pick six by Bailey Zappi. That was on the defense. So if you look into a proper context,
it was on the offense.
It was on the offense. So if you look into a proper perspective, we gave up 3 points to Carolina in the entire game.
Yep.
That is that's simply brilliant. My favorite play of this defense, it wasn't the interceptions or the sacks. Kyle Duggar putting the 6th overall pick, Okwenu, on his backside. Just literally just sent him to the floor. It looked like something out of a Monty Python sketch. If you know which one it is, let us know in the comment section down below. But that was just this guy is in his 3rd year, and he's going to be massive for us. Josh Uche had a good game. Anthony James, you already spoke about already. And I think we're all missing one key player as well, which we haven't touched upon. Brendan Schooler. Could be a special teams guy, an ace in the future. He made a fantastic play to keep the ball out the end zone and got it just inside of the 5-yard line. I'm a sucker when it comes to special teams. And when you do it like that, that really hurts the opposing team because they've got to pretty much start from their own end zone and get all the way down the field. So Brendan Schooler, for me, hopefully does get in this 53-man roster as a special teamer.
I think he's seen almost as the Cody Davis kind of heir apparent, because Cody Davis, he's 33 years old now. He's a $2 million cap hit for a guy that explicitly only plays on special teams. He struggled a small bit last year as well. I think I was surprised he came back. He's only a $50,000 dead cap hit if we cut him. So I think Schooler is being, like, from what I heard of his college time, he was basically a special teamer. That's what he did. So it'll be interesting to see now, do they kind of go, right, will we start getting younger? Will we look to replace Cody Davis? They moved Brandon King on last year, who was actually probably one of the younger special teamers. You've got Justin Bethel, who's the wrong side of 30. You've got Matthew Slater, who's closer to 40 than he is 30. But as far as I'm concerned, he can play forever. I don't mind. All hail Matthew Slater. But yeah, I think it's something that I think they've tried to do in the past, of just getting these special team specialists. I remember it was maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, we drafted Matthew Wells in the 6th round, and he was just a speed guy. He was a special teamer in college. It's all he'd ever done. He was listed as a linebacker. He was no more linebacker than I am. But it'll be interesting to see now if they can actually convert him into a roster spot. And also, if you think about it, you're making the roster younger, but also Bill Belichick loves saving these little $1 million here, $1 million there. I think that's an easy one. Now, in saying that, Cody Davis is, to say he's 33 years old, which means he's played special teams in the league for 10 years, which means he knows his stuff. He's a good player. So he's probably doing things that we're not realizing as well. But absolutely, I agree with you, Carl. I think Schooler has done nothing but impress in his limited time that we've seen him.
Yeah, I think that there were a lot more positives to take from that game, mostly from the defensive side of the ball. I mean, I would like to see Mac Jones have a couple of more drives, because I think it was just a little bit. The offense was very clunky. The running game wasn't going anywhere. But Ty Montgomery, he is going to be. I'll say this now. I think he's going to be our James White.
Yeah.
The person you can rely on, not just as a running back, but as a catching down, passing back. I think he's going to be absolutely pivotal for us. And he was pivotal for us finishing off that drive that led to the touchdown. I 100% agree with you, Henrik. That 45-yard bomb to Aguilar, I thought that was going to get picked off. And when I saw Aguilar have it off the sideline, I was like, that is a sweet throw. So very, very happy with that. A little bit more of that. And this is where, unfortunately, we have to break some bad news. And that is because our standouts, our speed freak, who we picked up in the second round in Tyquan Thornton, is out with a fractured clavicle. We don't know what the time frame it is. I think apparently something like 8 to 10 weeks. 8 to 10 weeks. So there is a chance he might be back for the Bears game in week 7, possibly. But that's only a rough estimate. So it's a big shame, big loss. I hope to God that he doesn't get redshirted now. I hope that he does come back and he do eventually plays. But then that just adds to the question, who is now going to start leapfrogging the depth chart? Because we spoke about Trey Nixon having a stellar OTAs mini camp and also a little bit of training camp as well, because there was a lot of hype going on about him. You had Christian Wilkinson, who for me was building up slowly to try and maybe break into this roster. And then you had a new acquisition that came in the offseason in little Jordan Humphrey, who in the Carolina game literally took off.
Yeah.
And he was part of also the special teams play as well, in that big special team play as well. So let's go around the horn. Henrik, we'll start with you. Since now Thornton is now on IR, who now takes that sixth receiver spot?
I'm not sure he's been put on IR officially yet, but he probably will. Tyquan Thornton. Is that correct?
Not yet. Yeah, because if you put him on IR now, he'll be on IR for the full season, the similar way that Malcolm Butler is. So they won't put him on IR, I think, until final roster cuts.
Yeah, exactly. That's correct, Luke. So thank you. Very interesting information. But there's a good chance he'll be on IR at the start of the season. So the battle most likely is between Trey Nixon and now Lil Jordan Humphrey, which you just mentioned, Carl. He had 5 catches, 70 yards or something. So it's a pretty decent game. And finally, Christian Wilkerson, who had one good game last year. So this is a tough one. I think all the hype prior to training camp starting was Trey Nixon. But I know we've all been high on Christian Wilkerson as well, and now we have Humphrey. So, I still think it's probably most likely to be Trey Nixon that becomes part of the roster. And then I assume one of the 2 others will be cut and the other will remain with the practice squad. It's interesting with Lil Jordan on Patriots Unfiltered. The great Paul Perillo and the magnificent Fred Kirsch. They were discussing Lil Jordan and about him, how he gets to stay with the team. And I believe it was Paul who said he only has a chance to stay on the team if he contributes to the special teams. And that would be very good to have a big guy like him to be in special teams. And I'm not sure. So I wouldn't have a high expectation if he remains with the team either way. He has a long way to go, and he has been in the league for a couple of years. I do find Trey Nixon to be more interesting, and I also like watching Wilkerson play. So I think if it's not Nixon, it's probably Wilkerson that gets a roster spot. But it's going to be interesting. That's an interesting question.
Luke, what about you?
I'm going to go against Henrik. I'm going to go against you, and I think it's Humphrey. I think Nixon, whilst he was kind of good in minicamp, he hasn't shown a whole lot so far in preseason. I think if exactly like you said, Henrik, if somebody's going to make the team as the 5th receiver, they need to be active on game day. How do you get active on game day? As a 5th receiver, you play special teams. I haven't seen Nixon or Wilkerson flash on special teams at any point. Humphrey's already shown over the last 2 games that he can bring something there. So for me, it'll be Humphrey just for the versatility. Realistically, at the end of the day, if any of them see the field, we're talking maybe a max of 10 to 15 catches for the full season. So it is, whilst it is intriguing, their impact. I think all these guys have fairly low ceilings. I don't think. Yes. I think Nixon. I think Henrik has probably a higher ceiling than the other two. I agree with you there. I think there's probably more potential there, but he's
Well,
he just, to me, he's had some drops.
yeah, yeah,
You can't do that. You really
yeah,
can't.
yeah. You make excellent points, and especially about Humphrey having more versatility. It was disappointing with Nixon because he could have had a bigger impact in this game against the Panthers. He made some noticeable drops, which is unnecessary, to say the least. But I'll say this. Because you make a very good point, so you might be completely right in the end. But I'll say this about Nixon: he looks like he can play. So, like you say, he probably has the high ceiling. So I'm going to be interesting to see how he reacts the rest of the week, and because he will play against the Raiders, I'm looking forward to seeing how he reacts in that game.
One name we haven't mentioned just quickly is poor Josh Hammond. Yeah, I don't think he's making the roster, unfortunately.
No, I don't think Josh Hammond will make the roster. I
Nope.
think he's way too far down the top. I think maybe even special teams is a long shot as well. And usually, if you don't get on offense or defense, you may get special teams. But that may not be the case in this one.
No, he's just he won't get an opportunity, I don't think.
No, he won't. He won't at all. Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how did you think overall that the Panthers game went? Luke, what would you say?
Scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to sit on the fence, and I'm going to say 5. I am always a bit kind of. I'm always err on the side of negativity, I think, a bit, but 5 out of 10. Defense, really positive. Can't say anything too badly about them. They performed as we hoped they would. We saw during the joint practices that Baker Mayfield couldn't complete a pass on them. We saw the same then with Walker and Corral in the game. They weren't able to keep complete passes really either. There was nothing much happening. But then the offense, I feel, and I'm speaking particularly about the first team offense, really, I suppose, rather than the second or the third team with Zappy. I have to say, at an overall level, really impressed with Zappy. Now, I also want to temper my expectations. When I say really impressed with, I don't mean he's going to be like challenging Mac Jones or even Brian Hoyer. Don't get me wrong here. I'm just saying, as if you're comparing him to maybe Jared Stidham in his rookie year, Ryan Mallett in his rookie year, Ryan Mallett for his full career, I've seen more out of him in 2 preseason games than I kind of felt I saw. Now, has he made mistakes? Yes. Is he any good? Yeah. Not really. But he's a bit better than what I've seen from what essentially will be our third string quarterback. So it could be in a couple of years that he's just the heir apparent to Brian Hoyer, and that's all. And that's all.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day,
that would be great.
That's you need these guys sometimes. You need a solid backup quarterback.
I don't think Bailey Zappi actually didn't do a lot wrong. I mean, apart from the pick 6 that he threw, 60 to 25, 173 yards.
It's fair. It's fine.
That's good.
It's fine.
They're not. That's fine. They're not bad numbers. They're not world-beating numbers, but they're not bad numbers for a rookie. But as you said, he ain't going to beat Mac Jones out for the job. There's no chance of that happening.
No.
Right. We'll get into there's a few cuts that have happened.
Well, Carl, am I going to be allowed to answer as well tonight?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, 1 to 10. That was the question.
Oh, sorry, beg your pardon. Yeah, 1 to 10, mate. How did you feel that the game against the Panthers went overall?
I really feel the same as you look, pretty much. 5 is probably the correct number. I'll go 4. I'll be a bit more negative than you. I'll just say there was a lot of positives. We had Patriots created 2 fumbles. It was the undrafted rookie or 6th round draft pick, number 96, Sam Roberts.
Sam Roberts, yeah.
Yeah, no, he had a fumble recovery, but it was DeMarcus Mitchell.
Mitchell, yeah,
who had the sack. Yeah, so there was good things happening, but you guys have you think that the defense did a good job. I have to agree with you on that. So, and the Patriots did create 4 turnovers, 2 fumbles, 2 interceptions. Sean Wade had the other one, Brendan Schooler, as we already talked about. So yeah, it was pretty impressive in one sense, and in particular if you focus on the defense. But I'm still, I think it was not an impressive game overall by the team. I have to admit the offense, the way they played with Mac was not good. Besides that one drive where they got the touchdown, and Hoyer and Zappi, they were okay. The thing about a rookie quarterback who's, I don't know, drafted late, just go on the field and don't really lose the game or embarrass yourself. And Zappi didn't do that yesterday. He did throw a pick 6, so that's not okay at all. Really annoying. I don't want to give him a plus, even though he played fine in general. But there's a lot of issues. I think at the start of the podcast, Carl, you talked about the penalties on offense. Well, the Patriots team had a lot of penalties against the Panthers, 10 or 11, or yeah, there was quite a lot. So and that's something that that the Patriots cannot have in their team. They have to be disciplined. Christian Barmore, I'd say he stood out. I mean, he played very well, but he did some things that weren't good, that were not sports related. He had a cheap shot, and just that's completely unnecessary. This team is going to have a long way to go, and they have shown they have need to improve. The worst thing about the game is the injury to Tyquan Thornton. So I'm a bit more negative than just because of that. It really sucks that Thornton is going to be out for a long time now, and if I don't think he's shown that promises. He's shown that he's promising, and that you shouldn't redshirt him. But if that happens, it will be pretty disappointing. It'll be a pretty disappointing aspect of the season, in my opinion.
Okay, we will shuffle on now to. There have been some cuts over the last 24, 48 hours. We've had cuts that include Devin Hafford and Jalen Elliott. They have been cut. And one of the more recognized names, tight end Dalton Keene. He's been limited for most of camp. He's been battling injuries since he arrived in New England. I think he took something on the lines of 100 of like something like 40 odd snaps, I think, of the ball throughout his time in New England. It's very disappointing because when New England traded up to get the 2 tight ends in Devin Asiasi and Dalton Keene was the risk, was the one they thought they traded up, or it was way out. They traded him, they got him way too early from what he was situated to be. And unfortunately, that did not work. Ollie's actually messaged here and said, "Are we shocked he's cut?" No, I'm not shocked he's cut.
No,
you know, you've got Hunter Henry, Jono Smith, and Devin Asiasi is a pretty decent third string tight end. I mean, unless Dalton Keene was going to convert to a fullback, which the Patriots are not using the fullback this season, I think he's used goods or damaged goods, shall we say? So it's a shame for him to go. But unfortunately, it's one of those things where it just has not worked out for him at all.
And I think just on that, like the usual trope of Bill Belichick, the best availability is availability, and he just hasn't been available. You said, was it 40 snaps across 3 or 2 and a bit seasons? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I just checked his stat line there for 3 catches for 16 yards. I mean, it's a shame because I don't think we ever got to see if it's not like we could find out if he was going to be good or not. I assume with the coaches, they thought the juice isn't worth the squeeze. He's not good with the talent that he has and the injury problems he has. He's not worth keeping around. Some of these guys, they might only give you 10, 11, 12 games a season on average. But a guy like that, there's 3 catches, and I would say they're by just looking at the stat line, they're probably just little dump off passes or 3 or 4 yard passes. It's not you're not losing anything really by cutting him, and it's a shame.
No,
it is a shame.
No,
yeah,
really.
He's made no impact at all. It's a shame. It's a shame that we drafted. We could have gotten someone better, perhaps. So it's always a shame when these draft picks don't work out. And it's sad. It's annoying because he filled a need. Tight end has been a problem since we lost the greatest of all time, Rob Gronkowski. It's sad that we couldn't have gotten more out of him, and it's sad that we didn't get to see him play. The positive is his fellow draftee, Devin Asiasi. He's starting to show himself a bit more. I don't know if it will be enough, but it's good that he had in this game when nobody there weren't that many standouts. He was at least consistent. He got 3 catches and more than 30 yards. That would be good tight end numbers in just one individual game. That was okay. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. No, you're dead right, Henrik. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
No, we're still waiting for 2 more cuts. Not sure who is. But there has been a lot of talk regarding of a few players that could be traded. One of them in particular is offensive tackle Isaiah Wynn. He did come back to joint practice today against the Raiders. Looks like he set himself back in, and so did Kendrick Bourne as well after being put in Bill Belichick's doghouse last week, shall we say. There was also trade rumors about Nelson Aguilar, but I think now the injury to Tyquan Thornton is quite long term. That won't happen now. He's your speed set. If you trade Aguilar, who's your deep threat? Who is our deep threat? And that's what the whole point of getting Tyquan Thornton in the first place was, to stretch the field vertically. And, so now that's what Aguilar's going to have to do. Kendrick Bourne, for me, yes, okay, he does come across like have a little bit of a brash attitude about him, but that's just his nature. However, though, last year he was one of our key influencers at wide receiver. And I think someone like him is going to be absolutely critical. I know we're expecting Jono Smith to make a return, and hopefully he steps up for this season. Hunter Henry to do as he did last year, be the red zone target, get the touchdowns. We know what he's capable of. I don't want Kendrick Bourne to be traded.
No.
I think it would be an absolute disaster if he gets traded. Ollie's just mentioned it to us. A KB is our best wideout. Well, yeah. If you exclude Devontae Parker out of that, I just think it's
Yeah,
it's a weird move if we let Kendrick Bourne leave.
Yeah, I'd like for us to go with the receiving players we have now. The depth is good. I like them to show themselves and keep all the players. And it would be foolish to trade Aguilar at this point unless you could get a very high draft pick for him. Same with Bourne, but Aguilar, he has shown himself from a very good side this training camp. So it's unreasonable to let him go at the point where he's actually improving in the Patriots system.
Yeah,
Luke.
Yeah, I think the only reason you'd be trading Kendrick Bourne is discipline related or something off the field that the coaching staff weren't happy with. It isn't for his play on the field or anything like that. You have to keep him. As Ali said, he's the guy.
We've just had some break. Sorry to interrupt you, mate, but we've just had some breaking news come through. The Patriots have just placed 2021 third-round pick pass rusher Ronnie Perkins on IR, ending his season.
Wow.
So, what for the second season straight? Ronnie Perkins injured again.
That's very disappointing. I don't. There's almost no chance that he returns and becomes a regular starter for the New England Patriots in the future, and it's very doubtful that he'll establish himself in the NFL. So that's the sign I'm getting from this. He's not going to have an impact for the Patriots. At least we now know it's pretty clear. Then we can focus on those other young players, Josh Uche, and hopefully that means he's improving.
I think so. I think I'm writing up a roster preview, and I had Ronnie Perkins being cut. I know it was very early to cut him, and I put that in the thing. It was going to be it would be a surprise cut, but I kind of felt like he was inactive all of last year. Then he went on IR. He didn't see the field. Also in training camp so far, he seems to be part of the third group. You're looking at the top line with, you've got, I'm just having a quick look here. You've got Henry Anderson, you've got Judon, Wise, Jennings, and Uche ahead of him.
Yeah.
He was the bottom edge rusher really on the roster, which doesn't mean he couldn't ascend, but of course he could have. I was going to say, sorry to interrupt you there. No, you're fine.
Luke. That's what also makes this kind of sad as a Patriots fan. He was a third-round pick, and with the third-round picks, it's always very curious how it goes, and it's always feel like at least we got something out of it. That's what you want to get from a third-round pick, but it's quite demotivating where it just doesn't work out at all, and that was essentially a wasted pick. The three that we have, if you're going to be a good championship team, you got to be good at drafting, and a good way to measure drafts is like how does a team do in the third and the fourth round. That's you find starters there. So I really think it sucks, but like I said, I'm trying to be a bit positive. That hopefully that means we have something in the other players, which you mentioned, but not a good thing. Not a good thing for Perkins to not be a good player.
I wanted to be wrong, Henrik. I wanted to be wrong. I would have loved to post that article saying he's the cut and he goes and has 5 or 6 sacks this year. Would have been great.
It would have been.
Feels and that's the thing with the drafts and the Patriots. These players, when you miss out, it's just really not. It doesn't bode well at times. You have to hit on these picks, and when he was drafted with Barmore, Stevenson, and Mac Jones, I was also pretty excited just about him. He was 6'3". He went to a great college, and he was productive in college. I was thinking maybe that we have an NFL players here as well. But hey, we got Mac Jones, we got Barmore, and we got Stevenson. 20 NFL draft for the Patriots 2021. It's still looking good, of course. I'm not trying to be too negative here, but it was breaking news, so I didn't get time to prepare.
Yeah, it's definitely just going back to that draft class. Definitely our best draft class we've had in quite a number of years. Yeah, I can't even thinking back now at some of the draft classes we've had. It's by far the best.
I'll say this: we stole Christian Barmore in the second round. We stole him. He should have gone late first. He should have gone late first.
Yeah.
He should have gone late first, and he
the mid first round. Like he should have gone number 15. I mean, he was among the 15 best players.
He's I would say he's kind of like Aaron Donald light. I'm not saying he's an Aaron Donald player. I am not saying that. He's that style.
I
think it's an interesting thing because I think his ceiling is not Aaron Donald, but it's the level below Aaron Donald. I think that might be Barmer's like a Pro Bowler.
Pro Bowler, a Pro
Bowler. Sometimes Pro, but not every year.
He has that ceiling to be a Pro Bowl talent. I mean, Aaron Donald he's
an all-time great.
Hall of Fame, probably one of the best players of this generation.
Yes. Someone of his size should not be moving and shifting that quickly. No. That is talent and genes. That's just that. Okay. But we are getting sidetracked because we're not talking about the Patriots. Let's move back to Patriots. Okay, so we're into our last preseason game, and it is against a glorified college team. The Las Vegas Raiders, beg your pardon. We had our first joint practice today, and from reports coming out, it hasn't gone very well, apparently. I'll give you the details. Where is the message? Here we go. Patriots wide receivers and corners lost the majority of their one-on-one reps on coverage drills against the Raiders. Jalen Mills 0 for 3 against Devontae Adams. Well, it's Devontae Adams. No shame in that. It's Devontae Adams. He's one of the best receivers in the. He was one of the best receivers in the game. Okay. Yeah. Miles Bryant 1 for 2 against Hunter Renfrow.
That's good. I'll take that.
I wanted Renfrow in the draft a few years back. I really wanted him. He's Edelman 2.0. He will be, okay?
Great.
Marcus Jones 0 for 3 and Jack Jones 2 for 2. But his lost reps were bad losses. So basically our secondary was getting tortured. And since we've been praising them so much against the Giants and against the Panthers, we're now going up against an offensive unit in the Raiders that are actually got some juice to them.
Yeah. This was something I feared at the start of the season. I think whenever I've talked to people about what the Patriots' chances are this year, I'd say it's going to come down to the secondary. We have some good cornerbacks. We do not have any very good cornerbacks. We have a bunch of 2.5 to third cornerbacks across the board. You know, they're Mills to me isn't. I know he's been playing fantastic, but on the evidence of so far in his career for the Eagles and last season for the Patriots, he's kind of more of a hybrid corner safety. He isn't a man corner. He can't match up. Mitchell has been a career number 2, number 3. You know, I think the draft picks, delighted to get 2 corners, but I think we really could have done with picking one up at the top of the draft over the last few years. I think I was clamoring for one instead of Cole Strange. I can do a full podcast by myself on that draft pick and how much I dislike it, and will continue to do so even if Cole Strange goes to the Hall of Fame, which he won't.
Well, no, but hypothetically, if he did, you would have to say, all right.
Yeah.
I mean, there has to
it's still a left guard at the end of the day.
I feel the same, but not as strongly as you. But you're right.
I'm being a bit extreme, maybe, but this was my fear at the start of the year, is that you have good, solid workman-like players playing cornerback for you. You do not have a star or two that can go up one-on-one with these high-level receivers. And it's the same also on if you look at our receiving core, is the exact same. A lot of mid-level players. Parker is a good, solid number 2, but he's our number 1. Bourne was a 3 or a 4 on the 49ers. He's our 2 as well. You know, that's the problem I have with this roster, is you've got a lot of good players, a lot of solid players, but nothing special. And I think when you come up against these teams, we're going to get, I feel like when we come up against the Dolphins with Tyreek Hill, we're going to get torched. You know, we don't have Steph Gilmore locking down one of their stars and then being able to sort people out. You're going to have one average corner going up against a star wide receiver, and you might be able to double the other receiver, but you won't. There's going to be one star going up against a fairly average cornerback, and that's going to be the theme throughout the year. And I'll speak about cornerbacks all day because I love cornerbacks, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, with the practices, I'm not surprised to hear that it's been going badly for the Patriots cornerback against the Raiders. The quarterback, Derek Carr, he's a good quarterback. So that's going to be the story this season. Every time the Patriots meet a team with a good quarterback and some receiving weapons, opponents are going to throw a lot of yards on the Patriots defense. That's just how it's going to be. It's if I had to grade the cornerback group for the Patriots, I'd give them at best a C-. I think they might be as low as D. They're gonna if the Patriots are going to have a good or productive season, the cornerbacks for the team, they have to overcompensate and have some good plays here and there. Have some great games.
Yes,
in order to help
do what they haven't done before in their careers. That's how I kind of feel like they kind of have to do something. And to be fair to them, so far in camp up until today, and we can take today as an anomaly against a very good team, they've proved everything that I've said there wrong so far. But until I see them on the pitch, I'm going to keep my judgment and keep everything as I expect them to be one of the worst defensive backfields in the NFL.
Yeah, that's completely understandable. It is not looking good, but that's why it's important that the Patriots offense gets going and gets going fast. So we're playing the Raiders. What are you guys thinking in terms of Mac Jones and starters? Would you like to see them play like the whole first half, perhaps? Or are you thinking maybe completely rest them? Give them 1 or 2 drives like the Panthers, and let's get going in the regular season. What are you guys thinking?
Carl. I think because you need to have a little bit more fluidity now. It's your final preseason game now. The rest of your time is all going to be practicing with your own players and that. I think for this one, I think we need to see the starting O-line and the starting receivers and Mac Jones for the first half of this game. I think we need to see how they can cope with the start of it now. Then take him off, put Bailey Zappi in for the second half, and just put the second stringers out there, and then let the second stringers try and fight their way into the 53-man roster, whether that is Trey Nixon, whether it's little Jordan Humphrey at receiver position. I think we do need to see the starting offense in the first half, but then there comes the catch-22 situation of you put them out there, but what happens if you get a star player injured? Like you lose Matt Judon to an injury, or you lose Christian Barmore, or you lose Trent Brown, or you lose David Andrews, it all come back then on the coaches. And yeah, so
we don't have the stars to lose.
And we don't have the stars to lose.
No.
Ollie's just said, why risk the starters, play the players who are fighting for the place? Yeah, Ollie's quite right there. But we still want to see Matt, push the ball down the field. If he goes on the first drive and within about 5-6 plays, gets a touchdown, that's it. Take him out. You've done what you needed to do. But this offense is under a new scheme, and it has to... And they are still teething problems with it. We've seen that in the Giants game. We've seen it in the Panthers game. So they are going to need to get a bit more fluidity about it. Luke, what about you?
Yeah, I think if I was coaching the team, I'd do the exact same. Have them out till halftime. Use it as reps. It looks like they need more and more reps in this, and the more reps they get, the better. I think what will actually happen is that the Belichick seems to value the joint practices a lot more, and he feels that he gets more work done there, and he can do more things there because it's a more controlled environment. And then it's a bit less controlled when you're out, obviously, in a game situation. So I reckon it could just be a drive and done, regardless of how well or how bad it goes. It could just, and you're just going to see Hoyer and Zappi for the rest of it. But Carl, I 100% agree with you. That's what you said is what I would like to see. I would like to see the offense do something. Just show us a bit of something, and we can maybe go in with a bit of confidence. But I suppose it's not about making the three of us confident, really, is it? But that's what I'd like to see.
But does it concern you that if we do have our starting team out for the first half, does it still concern you? Does it still slightly worry you that we could be one injury away from a player for a position which we know we can't lose? We can't have anybody injured for.
Absolutely. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Yeah.
And you'd probably get slated. And I know Belichick doesn't care about being slated in the media, but if it was a rookie head coach and he had his first round pick quarterback playing into the end of the first half and he gets his knee blown out, we'd all be saying what an idiot he was, for doing it, and typical rookie head coach mistake to make, So yeah, it's one of these things. I remember coaching. I've coached before, and I remember doing a special team session, and the kickoff team were playing poorly, and I said one more rep, please. And the kicker, as he was walking up to take the kick, tore his calf. Didn't even kick the ball. It was just on the walk up to kick.
Ouch.
Tore his calf. And that's the type of things that can happen. That's the type of stuff that can happen.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. One last thing before we make our score predictions for the game. Evan Lazar posted that New England they had one. They had a bounce back sequence on 11 on 11s. Defense got the Raiders offense off the field. Judon drawn a hold and sack on back-to-back plays. Carr did appear to miss an open Brandon Bolden on a seam route on the Pats drive for a touchdown. On-time throws to Myers, third down, Parker, Jono Smith, and then Kendrick Bourne with a touchdown. So Mac Jones threw to 4 different receivers during that sequence. That basically shows you Mac Jones won't just throw to a main guy. He will spread the ball. If you can get open, I'll give you the ball. Yeah. And that's sometimes all you need from a quarterback to do. Mm-hmm. Right. We're almost at the end of our show. Let's go around the horn. Let's make a score prediction for this final preseason game against the Raiders. So, Luke, we'll start with you. Who wins and what is your score prediction?
Raiders 28-14.
Yeah. I was going to say Raiders 28-21. Patriots lose, unfortunately. But come back
It's only
stronger against the
preseason, though.
Dolphins. Come back stronger against the Dolphins.
I'm going to say this right now, guys. I'm disappointing you because I refuse to lose to Stiddy. I refuse to lose to Jared Stidham. I'm going to say
That's true, actually. Yeah, he'll be
Yeah.
playing probably, won't he?
That's a
Change
good point. Yeah.
maybe this is just me being very positive about my team, but I'm going to say Pats win 24-21.
Nice.
Yeah. It's a preseason game. Literally anything can happen. So.
Anything up in the preseason game, as you've already rightly said.
Yeah.
Right. We are at the end of our show. Luke, Henrik, thank you for coming on. You've been absolutely amazing. One last thing, okay? If everyone's wondering why we've only got 2 guests on, because one is because DJ is on holiday right now, and unfortunately, Nick is been put in the sin bin because he said a rather disgusting rude name. So yeah, he is suspended for this game indefinitely until next week. That's the end of our show, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you so much for listening. Make sure you follow us on Spotify, follow us on Facebook. We are on Twitter as well, and we are now officially on YouTube. We'll be back next week for a review of the Raiders game, and we will finally start to see the 53-man roster take shape. So thank you all for joining us. This is the Patriots Touchback podcast. Go Pats! And we shall see you next week. Bye-bye.